declare the committee in recess at any point. The purpose of this hearing is to receive testimony on the Biden-Harris border policies and how they have undermined the safety and security of America. I now recognize myself for an opening statement. President Joe Biden, his appointed border czar, Vice President Kamala Harris, and Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas have sparked the worst border crisis in American history. Looking back over the nearly 4 years, Americans have witnessed a national security, public safety, and humanitarian disaster at our borders, and every day we continue to feel its devastating consequences. The flood of inadmissible aliens across our sovereign border has been unprecedented. Since Biden-Harris' first full month in office, Customs and Border Protection has recorded more than 10.3 million encounters of inadmissible aliens nationwide, compared to 3.1 million between fiscal years 2017 and 2020. In addition, there have been more than 2 million known gotaways on their watch, illegal aliens who are at large in our communities, whose intentions and backgrounds are completely unknown. Encounters at our ports of entry have exploded from roughly 1 million between fiscal 2017 and 2020 to more than 3 million since the start of fiscal year 2021. That's largely because the Biden-Harris administration has devised a host of unlawful mass parole programs that encourage otherwise inadmissible aliens to cross at our land, sea, and airports instead of between them. This solves the terrible optics problem of overcrowded Border Patrol facilities and overwhelmed agents, but the end result is the same: tens of thousands of inadmissible aliens released into the interior of the country every month against the laws passed by this institution. It's just a shell game, a sleight of hand to skew the numbers. It's like when a parent tells their children to clean their room, only to find the mess simply moved from the floor to the closet. Things might look cleaner, but the underlying problem has not been addressed. So it is with the Biden-Harris administration's border policies. Other numbers further highlight this crisis. Tragically, roughly 200,000 Americans have died from fentanyl that has been smuggled across the southwest border by criminal cartels. Border Patrol arrests of illegal aliens with criminal backgrounds have more than doubled on the Biden-Harris watch, from around 22,000 to more than 53,000. Apprehensions of Chinese nationals crossing the southwest border illegally exceed 36,000 just this fiscal year, more than FY07 through 20 combined. These are major national security and public safety concerns. This unprecedented surge across our borders was made possible by the Biden-Harris administration. In 2019 and 2020, Biden and Harris both declared they supported decriminalizing border crossings. Biden said that suspected criminal illegal aliens arrested by local law enforcement should not be handed over to ICE, contrary to the law. Harris called building more border wall systems, quote, a stupid use of money, end quote. Biden encouraged illegal aliens to surge to our border, his word, to flood our asylum system with illegitimate claims. Their open borders and anti-enforcement rhetoric soon became a reality. Upon assuming office, Biden-Harris worked immediately to end effective border security policies and to dismantle decades of bipartisan immigration enforcement. For example, Biden and Harris have gutted detention. For example, in fiscal year 2013, the Obama administration detained 91% of all illegal aliens, 82% of them from the time they were encountered until the case was resolved. In Biden and Harris's first year in office, that 82% dropped to just 10%. Removals have also plummeted from more than 267,000 in fiscal year 2019 to around half that number last year and as low as 59,000 in fiscal year 21. Even worse, removal of criminal aliens plummeted from around 173,000 in fiscal year 2019 to just 70,000 last fiscal year. And just yesterday, prominent border correspondent Ali Bradley reported exclusive ICE figures showing that since Biden-Harris administration ended Title 42 in May 23, The administration has only removed around 23% of all inadmissible aliens encountered. Despite the limitations put on them by the leaders, the men and women of CBP and ICE have continued to perform their jobs above and beyond the call of duty, and I commend them for their unwavering service to the nation. Yet they know it's not supposed to be this way. Today, you will no doubt hear more blame shifting and excuses by my colleagues across the aisle, but all of it is meant to mislead. You'll probably hear about the recent drop in illegal border crossings between ports of entry along our southwest border. However, this does not account for the thousands of inadmissible aliens coming in daily through the ports of entry under the scheme I described earlier, nor does it undo the damage done by the millions that have come in over the past 3.5 years. This evidence also suggests no connection between Biden's recent loophole-ridden executive order and these new numbers, but rather stepped up interior enforcement by Mexico. And as we saw recently, that enforcement is waning, with the Mexican government now busing CBP-1 appointment holders from the southern Mexico border straight to the southern U.S. border. Coming almost 4 years into this self-inflicted crisis, the administration's action is much too little and far too late. For numerous families across the country, like those of Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, Joycelyn Nagunri, the damage will never be undone. You certainly won't hear how the Senate's border bill, which just a single Republican helped write, would have made the crisis worse. It would have only allowed tough restrictions once encounters passed several thousand per day, mandated mass releases through non-custodial detention, improperly expanded the use of parole, and more. It was a terrible bill, one that was roundly criticized by former heads of CBP and Border Patrol and ICE. Today's hearing is about getting the unvarnished truth from Americans who have been forced to live out the Biden-Harris open borders nightmare in their own lives. This administration has completely undermined border security through a host of policies and decisions that have overwhelmed and sidelined the Border Patrol. Biden and Harris have gutted ICE's ability to conduct immigration enforcement in the interior, making it harder to detain and remove illegal aliens, including criminal illegal aliens. And innocent Americans are suffering as a result. The story you will hear from Patty Morin today is sadly just one of tens of thousands of stories of pain, suffering, and preventable tragedy. What you will hear from Jim Desmond is the account of a major American city that has been overwhelmed and overrun. It does not have to be like this. Later today, my committee will release a comprehensive report documenting in even more painful, objective detail how Biden, Harris, and their administration have thrown open our borders and the chaos that has resulted. I encourage all Americans to read it at homeland.house.gov. As we continue to witness Biden and Harris's resistance to doing anything meaningful about this disaster, we have to ask why. Why did they let this crisis take place, and why have they let it continue? I hope this hearing provides some answers and inspires President Biden and Vice President Harris to do what they so far have refused to, end this crisis and secure our borders. I now recognize the ranking member, the gentleman from Mississippi, Mr. Thompson, for his opening statement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I welcome